Guys, I'm back at Into Moto. They are kindly letting me take out another brand spanking new bike. This week it's an electric. Join me. We'll have a look round it as normal, and then we'll have a little drive round belting. Do not adjust your tellies, your phones, whatever you're using to watch this. The size is perfect. How small is this? Now I'm guessing this is what normal people look like stood next to motorbikes. The Tromox. I just keep looking at it. I can't get my head round something this size being just able to go on British roads. It's bloody tiny. Loads of fun. Look at the state. How cool do I look? Now the seating position is actually not that bad. And why did they have to get it in pink? Why couldn't they get me a nice manly colour? But I'll take you around, usual way. It is, jokes aside about its size, it's actually loads of fun, this thing. I've had a good play with it already. So I'll take you around, I'll show you what all the buttons do. Talk a bit about the security and the tech, because the tech on this is really, really good. Candy pink I'm going to go for. I don't know what the official name of the colour is, but it is a dark pink. This comes with a chain drive, a little bitty disc brake, which does stop the bike alright actually. No complaints with that. You'll see when I do the brake test shortly. We've got the single disc at the back as well. There's no back foot brake. You have got, because it's an electric bike, we don't have a clutch, so we've got two brake levers, just like being on a push bike. Now the seat on this is really nice and plush. It's comfortable, no getting around it. The seat's nice and comfortable. I've been on big bikes that don't have a seat as comfortable as that. Single shock at the back. It handles the bumps quite well. The suspension's alright. I can't complain about the suspension of this bike at all. This is tiny, but it's what fun looks like in pink. So let's talk buttons. You'd expect it to have loads, but it's not. Engine start button, hazards, and then we've got two rider modes. We've got sport and eco. Now eco mode limits speed of this bike, taking it to a maximum speed of around 18 miles an hour. Sport mode gives you everything, and this bike has been restricted to 31 miles an hour, so that's the max you're going to get out of it. On button, I do like seeing those on the electric bikes. This reminds me of switching the kettle on or something. Is keyless. Everything looks really, really well made. It does, honestly, I can't tell you enough, and I'll show you with the screen, because again, I've seen bikes worth £20,000 that don't have a screen as good. See the screen more when we're riding, but I'm parked in a place where there's quite a lot of reflection from the sun. It's currently on 99%, which is alright actually, because I've had a nice little play on this and it's barely gone down. We got a nice big speedo, and it tells us what mode we're in, whether we're in eco or sport. On camera it looks really bad, it looks like you can barely see it, but with my naked eyes you can see it really, really well, so I wouldn't worry about that. So let me just give you some stats on this bike. So it's electric, so you do have to pay a premium for it, but you get that back in fuel over time. This bike is a little under £3,000. I'll put the exact figures on screen, which, yeah, is pricey, but it's electric, and for an electric bike I think that's actually quite cheap comparing it to what else is on offer. The range of this bike is a quoted 73 miles. To charge the bike takes somewhere between 3 and 4 hours. It does have a monstrous, just under 3.5 horsepower. You get to your top speed quite quickly. You're only talking a couple of seconds before you're maxed out. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, and you'll see when we go on the test ride. I'm not afraid to take this on the road, albeit it's small and doesn't make any noise. I'm quite happy to take it on the road because it can do normal road speeds. So make sure you join me for the test ride, and as always, if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, because there is going to be loads of different bikes and hopefully a couple of videos coming out a week, which is awesome. Loads of work for me, but loads of viewing pleasure for you. Or loads of crap for you, but it'll kill 10 minutes. So, you know, hit the subscribe button. Don't think about you, think about me. Let's go and have a ride of this bike. I'll do a brake test while we're on the car park, show you what that's like, and then we'll hit the roads and I'll show you how that fares when it's around the cars. See, it's tiny, but so much fun. Let's do a brake test. Okay, so it's not brilliant as far as the brakes go, but it's not too bad either. It's quite nippy. I won't say fast, it's nippy. Let's go for top speed. Oh, 31. 31. Because it is so tiny, I'm convinced this would fit in the back of my car. And if I had this in the back of the car and nipped over to France or just went on my holidays somewhere, I think this would be absolutely perfect for that. Definitely get this in the boot, I'm not even joking. If you're interested in one, I'll put the specs and everything and links to Intermoto in the description so you can have a look yourself, but there is oodles and oodles of tech with this bike. Have a look at the link, and yeah, I don't think you will be disappointed, especially with the alarm system. The alarm system on this is pretty good, to the point of it locks the brakes and all sorts if someone tries to take it off you, which you don't get with a big bike. I'm doing 30 mile an hour now. If I was doing 30 mile an hour on my Harley, it's costing me loads in fuel. This is costing me peanuts because it's electric. And if you're smart with it, you go and get yourself charged at work, don't you? Get yourself all charged up at work, so it costs you bugger all. What I will check is, look at that. Yeah, I can lift that up myself quite easily. So if you are looking at buying one of these, and let's say you've got a camper van or a motorhome or something like that, this could quite easily sit inside while you're travelling to your next destination, or you could get one of those little ramps and stick it at the front or the back, whatever your preference is. And because this doesn't weigh a lot, it's about 68 kilos, so yeah, it's not feather, but it's not a motorbike either where you're talking a couple of 100 kilos. It would be quite easy for you to just manoeuvre this yourself and put it into a van. I've had 50cc's in my youth, petrol 50cc's, I've had Rev and Go 50cc's, and they do pick up speed a hell of a lot slower than what this does. So this, as I said previously, you get to, okay, I do miss the noise, but with this you do get to your top speed quite quickly. So it's not like a 50cc where you're going to get overtook quite quickly because everybody doesn't want to get stuck behind you. This is going to get to 30 mile an hour in a couple of seconds. And if you were out with your mates who've also got 50ccs, so I'm talking to you 16-year-olds, I think you'd be the fastest on this. You'll leave them for dust every single time. One thing with this, because the restriction on this and all the electric gizmos and stuff, me tucking in and trying to make myself small and more aerodynamic, it won't make any difference with this bike. I'm not going to start doing 40 mile an hour on it because it's restricted, and it will just do 31 mile an hour maximum. So you can just sit in your normal position and effectively just gun it, and you're going to get to the same speed as you would do if you were scrunched up. And I'll do that little test just to make sure. Tuck in. Still 30, oh no, 31. Well, that's the max anyway. 30, 31. Sit up normal. Be a big old windbreak, doesn't matter. Still doing 30, 31. And that's mainly due to this bike being capable of going that little bit quicker anyway. So because it can go that little bit quicker, it does have the power in reserve that it's just holding back. So it is able to get you to that max speed whether or not you're scrunched up or you're a big windbreak. Why pink though? Other colours are available. I've got friends that have got camper vans, and one of the big complaints they have is if they go to a site and they get themselves all settled in, awnings up, everything, they're then stuck in that place, because unless they're going on the push bikes or they're renting something, they're kind of tied to the site that they've stopped at. Whereas having something like this, you can just wheel out the back or wheel off the front of the back, wherever you choose to put it. If you've got something like this, you can go out and explore a little bit. I know there's a load of people who've got motorhomes that have got scooters, and they've got big bikes that they put on the back just so they're not limited for that exact reason. But this would be a hell of a lot easier to load. And let's not forget, while staying at a campsite, you can plug this bike in using their electricity, charge it up overnight. You've got 70 miles that you can go and play around with locally. And how often do you go 70 miles away from the place where you're camping? Not often. You'd go to the local town, maybe a couple of miles down the road, or you'd go to the local shop or wherever it is you're going locally, but you don't go and do 70 miles, do you? The more I'm riding this bike, the more I think that would be an absolute brilliant use of this bike. Or if you are 16, you're 16 and all your mates are getting 50cc scooters, and you rock up on this, you were gonna dust them every single time. You're gonna leave them for dead. Let's do a little bit of sneaky. It's not an issue because you're bloody tiny. I definitely see a place for this. Definitely. It's very similar to my logic with the 125 and keeping the 125. Having a 125 in your stable, it means that if you're doing a local journey, you can do it, and you can do it at around 100 miles per gallon, and it basically costs you pennies to go and do a couple of miles. So if you work locally, it just makes perfect sense. If you go into college or university or whatever, the parking's always terrible. Little bike makes perfect sense. Yeah, I like how it gets to its max speed quite quickly. Certainly with a bike of this size, you don't want to be hanging around on a 30 mile an hour road taking an age to get to 30 mile an hour, because cars will overtake you, they'll get annoyed. This, however, you're at normal road speed quite quickly, and because of that I've not been overtook once, and I've been out on this for a while now, and not a single car has actually overtaken me. And I think that in itself is brilliant, because I've had 50cc's and you feel quite vulnerable when you've got cars right behind you, and you feel quite vulnerable when they're trying to overtake you at every single opportunity. And it's just not happened with this. People haven't tried to overtake me because I'm doing the road speed, and I'm not kind of holding them up at all. I'm back from my test ride. Got to say, my impression of that bike changed dramatically. So when I first got on it, I felt a little bit silly. For a small lad, I'm quite wide, so I did feel a bit stupid on it. But the more I've ridden that bike, the more fun I had. And it's an absolute hoot. And I think if I did have a camper van, I would have one of those quite easily and quite happily. You won't go wrong. It'll do 31 mile an hour. If you're happy with that, get it done. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Cheers guys, and I will catch you on the next one. Laters.